I'm Scott York. I'm president of Yewa Airgun Club. This year, Yewa Airgun Club bid, and now we're hosting the 2013 AFTA, American Airgun Field Target Association Nationals, which we've got shooters in from all over the world. Field Target actually started off in England, kind of representing a game quarry hunt, where you're hunting for squirrels, rabbits. They started originally shooting paper targets. Now we have the game targets, which are the rabbits, squirrels, ducks, birds, with a kill zone that's anywhere from 3/8 of an inch up to 1.5 inches. So if you go through the little hole, it shoots the target down. When you pull it, it sets back up. You get 1 point for hit, no points for a miss. They're at unknown distances from 10 yards out to 55 yards. Your knowledge of your weapon to decide how far the target is, you would get 2 shots at each target to take it down. And it's whoever shoots down the most wins.
All right, I'm now joined by David Slade, who's the chairman of the American Airgun Field Target Association here. So let's talk a little bit about the AAFTA. How long have you been involved with them?
Shooting field target for 30 years.
30 years?
30 years. I've shot for the British team when I lived in England, and when it was after, I came and moved over here, and I was actually one of the officials for the first and second World Championships that they had. This is my 3rd season as being a governor and chairman for this year. But the primary thing is for AFTA is to promote the sport. We come up with the rules, we find out which club is going to host the nationals, we pick that, and kind of like the watchdog.
So for people out there that don't know much about AFTA or want to get involved, where can they find information and not only about AFTA but about local gun clubs that they can get involved in field target shooting?
AFTA.org, that is our website, and that has the links to a lot of the member clubs and information on how to get going, basics all the way through, just the rule books to how to get started.
There's a lot of people that enjoy hunting. They watch hunting on TV, but they don't have places to go hunting. Shooting at a piece of paper constantly, it really gets, I hate to say boring, but shooting a piece of paper gets boring. These targets have a little bit more flavor. It gives you more sense of accomplishment, I feel, when we're able to shoot down a piece of metal at 50 yards than it is poking in a piece of paper at 50 yards. Anybody can shoot sitting still, shooting down a straight line, but when you get some weird angles that throws you out of position, it makes the game more challenging for the shooter. Looking at field target, in this part of the world, most people do not like or don't even look at air guns, because around here they think of Red Ryder BB guns, Gamos. They don't realize the power that these things can have, the accuracy they have. Everybody should look into air gun shooting and shooting a precision air gun weapon, because the overall cost is much, much less than shooting a firearm. I'm not giving up my firearms for anything, but this is a more effective way to practice your discipline to be able to shoot. The best part of field target for me is being able to share it with my family.
My husband Scott and I started shooting air guns with friends from Austin and a few from Houston back in 2004, and really just enjoyed it. I like to knock down targets, and so that's really the best thing. When I see him go down, I get excited and want to shoot more, so hopefully he'll take after us.
Yeah, are you going to take after Mom and Dad? You going to be a champion shooter?
I was the older guy getting married, and I've got so many friends that I go fishing, bowling, golfing, and they leave their wife and family at home. I take mine with me.
American Airgunner is sponsored by Umarex, Zeroed In, by Pyramid Air, the world's largest retailer of air guns, and by Hudson, serious, solid impact.
The Umarex Octane features tremendous velocity with a quiet downrange noise thanks to the integrated silence air noise dampening system. Powered by the Reaxis gas piston that provides more punch, more power, and more speed. These two technologies combined deliver a smooth, accurate shot with maximum power. The Umarex Octane.
PyramidAir.com. Let's see.
That was fast.
Bingo.
Honey, did you do those chores yet?
Chores! Roger, put that drink down. We gotta mow. Chop, chop.
Oh yeah, He's out there showing the grass who's boss.
Pyramid Air. Big selection, fast shipping, the airgun experts.
All right, we are back here at the round table for the 2014 season of American Airgunner. First of all, welcome back. Good to see you guys. Now, this is going to be a fun year. We're going to bring in a lot of different experts and guys to come to the round table and share their thoughts on things. But, of course, we had to kick this year off with the guys we grew to know and love last year. Of course, Rick Usler here, our gun critic. Jim Chapman, our resident big game hunter. And, of course, the Godfather, Tom Gaylord. Guys, welcome back. So we're going to kick things off with something I think everyone discusses, and we always talk about it when you get a new gun, old gun, whatever it is, but it always comes down to pellets. What's going to give you the best accuracy, the best velocity, or make your gun the best? Am I right?
Yeah.
Pellets are key.
You got it.
Where does the average shooter out there start?
You know, I think a good thing to do is get a selection of pellets because every gun has different preferences. And finding the one your gun really likes and then matching it to what you're going to use it for.
How many different types of pellets are out there?
I call it 4.
Okay.
Flat, which we call wad cutter, pointed, domed, and hollow point.
Okay.
But you have variations, but those 4 will get you through.
Right, but like you say, the variations on that theme, there are hundreds.
Are there certain pellets that generally go good with a certain type of gun, or is it always different?
Absolutely. And I'm going to cut to the chase. The domed pellet is almost always the superior choice.
When we're talking about pellets, we're talking about the Diablo style with a thin waist, a flared skirt, and one of those head types that were discussed. But it depends a lot what you're going to use it for. And I agree with you, round nose. For my application hunting, it's one I use probably 90% of the time.
Tom, let's be honest. The average guy out there is not gonna run through 87 pellets to find what works for them. How do you trim this down to make it work for the average shooter?
I always start with a JSB.
Right.
I always use an RWS Superdome and a Crossman Premier. Those are the 3 that I traditionally go with.
You'll start with those.
I always like the H&N Field Target Trophy.
You know what, those are exactly the 3 I start with as well. The H&N are also great pellets, but those are the 3 that work well out of most of my guns. You know, part of it I was thinking as you were talking, it depends a lot on how you're going to use the pellet, even for plinking or target shooting. The wad cutter design is a great short range pellet. They group very well, they're accurate. But if you want to go out to 40 or 50 yards, forget it.
How much difference are we talking on accuracy with a different pellet?
There are many companies, Crossman, JSB, H&N, RWS, that have pellet samplers.
Okay, that's something
So
like this.
yes,
You
and
get a
that's
little
really
bit of-
where I tell people to start.
Yeah.
Buy a sampler, and now you've got how many different pellets there? You got
5.
So in this pack, you've got a sampling of everything. You've got a match grade wad cutter and a basic grade wad cutter. So for a fraction of what you pay to get a 10 of each of those,
Right.
you get a sampler, you test it in your gun. I have a sheet, and I have like maybe 25 little bullseye on that sheet, and I'll shoot, you know, maybe 10 or 15 pellets in each, 5 shots in each hole. And some will group, you know, almost 2 inches, and some can be down to 1/3 of an inch.
Okay.
Just in the variation of the
You'll
different
know
pellets.
automatically.
Rick, when you do when you go through a gun and you actually put your report online, do you say, hey, here's the pellet that I found the best?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, now tell me this. If I have the exact same gun Rick has, does the pellet you've recommended, is that going to work? Does it matter gun to gun? Like, will all of a sudden the pellet you recommend not work in the gun I have, even though it's the same gun?
That's the question.
It can't. Generally, it's going to be pretty close, but there are occasions where you have differences. You have variations in manufacturing runs, and it doesn't necessarily.
It's becoming less pronounced. And when we all started, it used to be really pronounced. And I find it's less pronounced with guns. And I think if you follow a recommendation like Rick is giving, chances are pretty good.
Okay.
You might have that one, you know, 1 in 100 or what that doesn't follow that.
Is there a thing where, like, distance, like with one gun, like maybe 10 to 20 yards, a wad cutter is great, but then you find that
Absolutely the case.
It's more accurate.
At 10 yards, the wad cutter is so good they use it in the Olympics.
Okay.
But you get out past 25 yards, most wad cutters will start flying all over the place.
Yeah. I've also found if you shoot them at high power settings, they don't group as well.
I was testing a gun recently, and it was the one that was giving me so much frustration trying to find the right pellet.
Sure.
Because at 10 and 15 yards, I was shooting the RWS Superdomes, and they were just all right in the same hole. I moved to 20 and 25 yards, and it went, whoosh, and I'm like, what is going on with this thing? And just a switch of pellet at that different range, it needed a different pellet.
So at what point when people are sighting in their gun, or they got their new gun out of the box, and it's Christmas morning, and they're shooting that gun, can they start blaming the pellet?
You know what? Too many people shoot at 10 yards and say, "Oh, this thing is accurate. I'm done."
Yeah.
And what they need to do is get outdoors and shoot out to 50 yards at least, and see what
Every
that pellet.
10 yards.
Well, that's the best way to do it, yes.
Absolutely.
But at least do 25 and 50. I mean, do something.
So, you know, we've talked before about the importance of velocity, and highest velocity is not always the best thing. Well, there's an example. You go to a light pellet to get the velocity up, they're good out to 25 or 30 yards, but if you're going to shoot any further than that, they completely blow out in terms of accuracy.
All right, guys, favorite question time. If you had to pick one pellet to go in your gun, what would you go with?
I would go with a nice domed pellet.
Okay.
Probably start with the JSB dome pellet, depending on the caliber.
Same.
Yep.
Wow, look at that. Agreement. You never see that at the round table.
See, it's not so hard.
Guys, a good start this year. I appreciate it. Now listen, stick with us this year because we're going to have all different types of guests here at the round table. We're diving into big game hunting, small game, target. We're really diving into the world of air guns. We're even going to have some other experts come on. We're going to bring in Steve Kreiner, also Steve Fiestead. So guys, and of course, these three gentlemen who pretty much can cover everything. So stick with us. That's it for this week. We got a lot more coming up right here on American Airgunner. And of course, go to our website, AmericanAirgunner.com, for more information from the round table.
All right, guys, after the break, we'll be back in Texas getting to know a little more about the AAFTA and the National Field Target Championships. We'll be right back.
All right, it's time for our American Airgunner Trivia, brought to you this year by our friends at Blue Book Publications.
A legend in innovation and tradition. These classical and modern masterpieces have sent pellets downrange for over 3 decades. German engineered to last a lifetime. Quality, power, precision. RWS, the world's finest air rifles.
So I'm now joined by Greg Sobey, who is on the board of the American Air Gun Field Target Association, but also a world champion 3 years in a row. Greg, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
So right now you're the reigning world champ.
I'm the reigning veteran world champ.
Veteran.
Best old guy in the world.
Okay. Hey, now let's talk about this competition. This is the biggest competition in our country.
Right.
It's our national competition,
Right.
or championships. And you're on the board of AFTA.
Correct.
Talk to me about AFTA and how long has that been around, and what exactly does it do for the air gun world?
I think AFTA's been around since the start of air gunning field target, and that probably goes back to early 90s. I think the United States and England were the first two countries to start doing it, and the first world's meets were just England came over here, we went over to England.
Okay.
And then more countries started getting involved in it. And obviously, when you do this, you need a set of rules, so the early founders started a group called the American Air Gun Field Target Association.
Okay.
And came up with a constitution, and which has been upgraded, as we needed changes and added classes, because it started out with basically just one class. Everybody shot against each other.
Sure.
Then the springers really it's harder to shoot a Springer than to shoot a PCP, so they have their own class. Now they have hunter class, which means you sit on a bucket and use bipods, kind of simulates hunting. You can't click the scopes, you have to kind of range find by size. Boy,
really?
That's a tough one, yeah.
Okay.
So AFTA covers all those over here.
So in today's competition, there's an open class, there's a hunter class, all these different ones?
Right. I'm in the WFTF, which is the world class, which means our guns can't exceed 12 foot-pounds.
Okay.
And we can't use any straps. So we have to follow those world rules. Then there's the open class, which is you can go up to 20 foot-pounds, you can wear straps, you know, a harness, makes it a little easier to shoot. And then there's the hunter class, and all those classes have piston and PCP, so you got about 6.
So there's like 6 different national competitions going on today.
Really, yeah.
Wow.
Want to know more about field target shooting? Stay tuned because later in the season, we'll check in at the Field Target Championships and get to know some of the shooters. Next week on American Airgunner, we'll be back at the round table and joined by Steve Fiestead discussing the history of airguns. We'll be in Arizona with the Game and Fish Commission talking about local airgun hunting regulations.